cuando hago lives en colaboraciones, puedo decirte que es para compartirte información y para que aprendas, pero la verdad es cuando yo encuentro creadores de contenido que me vuelan la cabeza y digo, yo necesito hablar con esta persona, necesito aprender de esta persona y quiero que el mundo escuche lo que esta persona quiere decir. Así que hoy me acompaña un invitado que la verdad a mí o sea, está cabrón, está muy cabrón. El live es en inglés, pero recuerda que puedes poner tu pregunta en español y yo la voy a traducir. Si alguien puede, por favor, ahorita comentar, pon tu pregunta en español y Jaime la traduce para poder pinear el comentario. Se os va a agradecer mucho. Eh, Vamos a darle desde ahorita porque hay mucho que hablar, mucho. Hi,
Hello.
how are you?
I'm doing very good. How are you?
I am way too excited.
You know
uh,
what? Seriously, me too. I've really been looking forward to this since the first time we talked. I've been very excited about this.
yes, me too. I was just saying how usually I'm assuming people when I do collaborations, people go like, "Oh, he's just trying to get a message through." I'm like, "No, I'm very excited to talk to people and learn." And it's like when I see a content creator that blows my mind, I'm like, I need to have a conversation, and I like people to hear it. So that's what we're doing. So anyway, I would like to ask you to introduce yourself, just for people who don't know who you are.
Sure, yeah. My name is Ariane. I'm an intuitive trauma healing transformational coach. I'm also an author and a spiritual teacher. So my teachings are all about teaching people how to understand themselves, how to raise self-awareness, to be able to integrate and understand reality to the degree where they can essentially create the reality they want, become the person who they want, and live a life of peace, happiness, and fulfillment.
I That's very clear. It's just so clear. Sometimes I think that when people present themselves as a therapist or a philosopher, it just becomes so abstract. But when you say it that way, it's just the idea of transforming reality sounds magical. But the way I've seen you like talk about it on your videos, it's very down to earth. It's very real, like realistic. And the first thing I need you to explain, I don't need you to explain, I saw the video, and I just want to talk about is you have a video that I think it was one of the first videos that I saw from you, maybe, I don't know. But it blew my mind when you say you are you do an exercise when it's like tell yourself what you're thinking and tell yourself how you're feeling, and then you ask, who are you telling this to? And I
Yeah.
paused the video. I'm like, I don't know. Am I insane? Because that I'm hearing like, who is this person? Can
Yeah.
you elaborate on that?
Yeah, it's a very short exercise, and we can do it now with everyone watching. It'll be a kind of a little fun exercise to do. So, essentially, is I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to answer it to yourself. So, everyone that's watching now, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions, and I want you to answer it to yourself inside. You don't need to speak it out or anything. First question is, what are you thinking right now? And that could be, I'm thinking this guy has a big beard. I'm thinking, like, I'm watching, like, what's going on? I'm confused. Whatever you're thinking, tell yourself what you're thinking right now. What are you feeling right now? You may be feeling confused. You may be feeling anxiety. You may be feeling contempt. You may be feeling love. Whatever you're feeling, tell yourself what you're feeling right now. Whatever you were thinking happened in the mind. Whatever you were feeling happened in the body. But who did you tell these answers to? And this is not a trick question.
I
Essentially,
don't know.
you, you told it to yourself. You are the conscious self. You are the consciousness. You're not the mind, you're not the body, you're not the feelings, and you're not the thoughts. You are the conscious driver driving around in this meat suit that we call a human being. So you are not the human, you are the consciousness driving in the human. Now, that was the exercise, but to expand from that, we can go in many different ways. The human being is part of reality. Everything in reality is part of consciousness. When we say consciousness, we're talking about, a lot of people say the universe. A lot of people will label it as God. Everything that exists, everything that is. And that means everything that is. So it's alive, including your human being avatar meat suit. You, you are the consciousness. The consciousness is the non-physical aspect. So this is in the 3D. Your consciousness, when you think, when you're like trying to work something out, the conscious driver is non-physical. When I say physical, I'm talking about the 3D. So think of it as like a remote signal being sent from outside of the 3D into the 3D. That's what you are. Your human being is its own entity. That's why your human being can manifest disease. That's why your human being can communicate to you in so many different ways. We feel in the 3D, we feel in the body. We don't feel in the mind, we feel in the body. So the feelings that we get, again, is another way that the human being or your being is communicating to you. And my most famous quote is, "How you feel is correct every single time," because it's a communication from you to you about you. And that plays a huge role in the human being as well, because that's where you're feeling anything.
So this is the moment where my mind is blown, and I'm like, okay, yes. And the thing that I love about that, when I saw that video, it made me pause and think how my ideas, my anxiety that comes from all these apocalyptic scenarios in my head, or my feelings of fear and everything, just I am feeling those things, but I'm not those things, as you're saying. And that gave me some agency back of thinking, okay, so I'm not trapped in my feelings, I'm not trapped in my mind. They're telling me things, they're communicating things to me, but I can interact with them. I am not them.
Exactly.
How
Exactly that. Um,
how would you? I want to bring this to like more practical examples. Sometimes I think that that makes it easier for me. So, for instance, what I think is my partner is going back to uh, Denver tomorrow. So I'm back to Denver tomorrow, and I'm like, oh, I immediately feel fear, and I immediately start like having ideas of he's not coming back, he's gonna cheat on me, he's gonna have 1,000 new boyfriends, and all these things are happening. And when I zoom out of this, and I see those feelings, and I see those thoughts, and I'm like, okay, I see those things as apart from me. What do I do with them?
well, essentially, what's going on is you need to understand how you work as this being. It's not as a human being, but not just the human aspect, the being, which includes the consciousness.
Mhm.
At the consciousness level, you're actually multiple personalities, multiple parts. So you've heard of people with multiple personality disorder?
Mhm.
Every human is like that. It's just we call it multiple personality disorder when it's really, really out of control. But every single human has multiple parts, multiple personalities. This is why traumatic events also change people, because they are taking on and adopting new behaviors and personalities, which in their way keeps them safe from the trauma, whatever that is. In the moments where you're able to zoom back and you're not the fear and you're not the whatever is under the sensation of anxiety, so it could be anger or fear, you're able to understand and see the thoughts that are coming up. those are actually parts of you that have those beliefs, that have those thoughts, that feel like that. Now, a lot of people in the spiritual community, especially, go towards invalidating and pushing away these thoughts as an attempt to, no, 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 I'm not these thoughts. And yeah, this is where like the message needs to be kind of clear. And unfortunately, there are a lot of one-liners or, short quotes that, because they're not finished, can lead people towards this type of behavior. We don't want to live as them, but we are them. What I mean by that is I don't want to live in reaction mode where I'm constantly reacting to my triggers and constantly reacting to my pain. But I need to understand them. I need to understand that that is a part of me. I need to understand where that came from. At what stage of my life did this part of me fragment and manifest?
Mm.
Then why this part of me carries these beliefs and has the thoughts that it does and feels the way that it does. And through that understanding, when I go towards this part of me instead of rejecting it, through that understanding, I'm able to extract so much more information, which then will allow me to validate this part of myself and through that process, integrate this part of myself. Once I integrate, once I integrate this part of myself, I'm meeting the unmet needs that are there. So the example that you gave where my boyfriend is going to a different town, I have these concerns. It could come from an unmet need of love. It could be a fear of being left alone. And now this is a part of me that feels like that. And this part of me has fragmented and feels that disconnect. By going towards this part of myself and integrating it, there is no more disconnect. There's a connection. This is how you start feeling whole again, is by bringing these parts of yourself in. And the more you bring these parts of yourself in, the more whole you feel. You'll start meeting the unmet need of connection and loneliness and love. So then eventually you'll get to a place where you'll be okay if your partner's going out of town because you're using your triggers to learn how to meet the unmet needs that you have.
Okay. I want to go back to that in a moment, but I want to connect this with another thing you were saying that also blew my mind. When you were saying that, because I think, okay, so I'm gonna try to do this, and be like, okay, I'm not jealous. I'm important, and I am the best boyfriend he has, and these affirmations that I don't believe really, and the more I repeat them to myself, I feel stupid, and I'm like, okay, so I'm trying so hard to say that I am these things that I'm not, so I'm doing it wrong. But then you were saying that I might be trying too hard and I'm not listening to my discomfort while saying these things. So can you elaborate on that one?
Yeah, affirmations are one of the most misunderstood things that I've found to be out in the self-help community or the spiritual community. Affirmations, we learn that, we program our beliefs through the thoughts that we have. We learn that the thoughts that we have are what's creating reality, but that's not actually entirely accurate. It's not the thoughts necessarily, it's our beliefs. Our beliefs use thoughts to manifest and create the reality that we have. So what people tend to do is they go, oh, I have a belief and I have a thought that I'm not good enough, let's say, or that I'm not important, or I better yet, I'm unloved. I'm unloved because my partner is going away and I feel unloved. Okay, so all I need to do, because the way that I created that was having so many experiences in my life of feeling unloved, and that backed it up. So all I need to do is just keep backing it up and keep telling myself that I am loved. That doesn't work. That's not going to work at all. Like I said, your human being is your feedback machine. Think of it like that. You're the conscious driver. You're the non-physical aspect conscious driver. And when your human being gives you information, that's the data, that's the feedback. So if you're looking in the mirror or just saying to yourself, I am loved, and that doesn't feel right, that's feedback. That's information. That's communication. Like, why doesn't that feel right? But then you hear the advice of, oh, no, no, you just keep needing to do it. Just keep doing it and keep doing it. It doesn't work. There are parts of you that don't feel that that is true. Now, if and these are wounds. These parts of you are wounded. You have emotional wounds and you have physical wounds. If my arm was cut off, and I said to you, my arm's cut off, I need help, and you were like, no, 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 your arm's not cut off. I'd be like, no, no, it is. It doesn't take the pain away. It is cut off. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to just convince ourselves that the pain that we're in, we're not in. And that that's so invalidating to the parts of
Mhm.
ourselves that are in pain. And invalidation is actually how you got to where you are. The experiences you've had in your life, the reason why we are in pain and we are where we are was because of the invalidation of our reality in those moments. And the moments I was scolded as a child, I was told that I shouldn't be angry. So the angry parts of me, which are the reason why I was rejected, I have to invalidate and push down and reject in order to maintain a connection. So by invalidating my reality of anger, that's how I got to my pain. So it doesn't make sense that the way I'm trying to get out of it is through invalidating parts of myself. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
And it will never ever work. It really, really won't. That doesn't mean affirmations are not good. And it doesn't mean that you shouldn't use affirmations. But there are ways to use affirmations. And I always give the advice of find what feels right for you. 2 years ago, if I looked in the mirror, I actually did look in the mirror about 2 years ago, a little bit longer, about 2, 3 years ago. I looked in the mirror and I said to myself, I am loved. And it just didn't feel right. I look in the mirror now and I say I'm loved and it feels great. And I'm like, yeah, I love you. I love myself. I can, yes. But 3 years ago, it wasn't working for me. So find what works for you and you can work up to whatever you're trying to get to. So, all right, I'm loved doesn't feel right. I'm liked. No, that doesn't feel right either. I am a good friend. Oh, that feels better. That's starting to feel like it's true. And that means I'm believing that. So I can start there. I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend. I'm a good friend. Just keep doing that. And months later, after doing so much more integrating and so much more work, I'll be like, I like myself. Ooh, that feels better. That feels good. And eventually, from doing the work, integrating and healing yourself, along with affirmations, you do them together, you will arrive at a place where you'll say you're loved and you won't just believe it here, you'll believe it here. And you will. It will feel right for you.
Wow. I'm gonna make this into a clip and post it, and maybe just get a tattoo on my forehead that reminds me of that. It makes a lot of sense. And like the idea of the example of the arm, not only from the outside, we get all this invalidation of you shouldn't feel this way. Sometimes I think as I just wrote something on the channel saying that since Michael's going away tomorrow, and I get these ideas of, but I'm a therapist and I work in relationships and I know how to handle discomfort. I should be fine. I shouldn't be feeling afraid. And he told me, and I'm thinking, but I am feeling those things. And by invalidating them, they're just going to scream more at me. It's going to feel even more uncomfortable because they're telling me something I'm not listening to.
Mhm.
Um, and that brings me to somebody here asked, how does one bring the fragmented parts of themselves back in?
That's a very good question. Before I answer that, I want to address something that you said, which is very, very important to address. The moment anyone, and I mean this wholeheartedly, the moment you say, I shouldn't, and then feel, just know that you're not in reality. That is not part of anything that is going to help you. There is nothing, there is no feeling that would fall in the category of shouldn't. Because then you're suggesting that you have an ability to turn and off and on your feelings. You don't. If we did, everyone would be happy. Because everyone could just be happy. But they're not. So we don't have that ability. So just understand that if you ever go towards I should feel or I should be able, just understand that you're going down the wrong path. Pull back and go like, okay, what is happening? Why do I believe that I should be like that? And more importantly, I'm going to explore why I actually am feeling the way that I am. Now, to kind of address the question. So I'm going to give you the highlights of it. Unfortunately, it requires like more than just a conversation like this to kind of go deep into the in-depth ways of doing this because it does. Like essentially, that's literally why I have online courses. That's why I do what I do because it's never a one sentence answer or anything. But I'm going to give you the top highlighted versions of it. Essentially, what we're doing is we're using our triggers as kind of like a fishing hook to the parts of ourselves. A trigger is not necessarily you feeling an emotion. A trigger is you becoming aware of a part of yourself that is suppressing and holding that emotion. N- What is it? 95% of your thoughts are in your subconscious. Your subconscious is somewhere that you are unaware of. Yes, there are a lot of thoughts that control your internal systems, whether that's making your organs work, but there are also in the unconscious parts of ourselves, the thoughts that are carried by all of the aspects of ourselves that have been fragmented. So you can never think your way to them. So the only way that we have a connection to them is, shockingly enough, using the feedback from our body. Where do you feel in the body? So the body is giving you feedback. Hey, you're being triggered to feel anger. It's like the body going, hey, so the a human being at their natural state is naturally innately healthy. So whenever we are being triggered, we're showing ourselves to be out of alignment with our natural state, healthy state. So it's our being's way to be like, hey, there's a part of you that is carrying anger, which is causing you to be out of alignment of your natural healthy state. So that doesn't mean that the angry part is bad. It's just this is how the being works. What we do, because we've never learned this stuff and because we've been taught to literally reject these parts of ourselves, is like, no, 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 no. And we push it back to where we are unconscious of, our subconscious. By the way, this is why it's called shadow work, because shadow isn't like dark evil or anything. Shadow is the unconscious part of yourself. So to do shadow work is to do anything that would extract parts of you from the shadow aspects, that the shadow part of the human being. And the way we do that is through the emotion. So we use the triggers to then pull in any part of ourselves that we become aware of. If I'm angry, oh, okay, why am I angry? I'm angry because I sent a message to my partner, they read the message, I see the two blue ticks and they've not responded back to me. That is triggering me. So what we tend to do is, why haven't you messaged me? Why? We're like, that's a projection of our pain. That's also resistance because we're essentially projecting. So I'm going to make a different decision. I'm going to sit with that anger because by sitting with that anger, I'm like bringing that part of myself in. When I'm projecting and I'm rejecting, I'm pushing that part of myself away. But I need to understand this part and bring it in. So I'm going to allow myself, just in my own internal world, this isn't me projecting or anything, I'm going to allow myself to think any and all thoughts that I have that are coming up and to feel however I feel. So I'm going to continue going with the anger and I'm going to get really, really angry in my own head. This is so much information coming to you from your unconscious mind. And then after I've sat
Hmm.
with that part of myself, essentially, I need to work out when this part of myself manifested, when the what exp what experience in my past created this part of myself. And we can simply do that by asking the unconscious mind, when was the first time I felt like this? And in different forms, whether it's through sound, whether it's through visually, whether it's just imagination or thoughts or just a knowing, you're presented a memory from your past of when this part was created, what experience it was that created the anger that you learned to suppress. Now, this is, I'm talking very broad. It's very different for so many people of what the memory could be. You know, like the earliest memory that I've gone back into was my mother's womb. So it's not like, oh, it's only up to 4 years old or anything. It's literally, it can be before coming into, like, on the entry of reality as well. Like it can be that soon. Once we're there and we understand where this came from, there's processes and tools of what we do. We validate, we understand the unmet needs, we meet the needs in the state of imagination, essentially. Your mind can't tell the difference between imagination and 3D reality. It treats both of them the exact same because they are the exact same. It's just the 3D has a huge lag into manifesting your imagination, which is again another reason why everyone's like, your thoughts create your reality. Your thoughts are imagination as well. That is the path to understanding it. Now, not all parts of you need that depth, need to be that deep. Some of them just need feeling. So if I just sit with the anger, that might be enough. But you will also arrive at a place where it's like, all right, I need to learn to do more. I need to learn how to fully integrate these parts of myself. And then there's other aspects of parts work that you can do as well. But essentially, that's what we're doing here. And that's what integration is. Where the best, simplest form that I can say is through experiencing the opposite of what we did in the past that created this. We're undoing the
Hmm.
emotional distress that we experienced by resolving it. And that really depends on the individual as well as the individual wounds that are being brought to our awareness as well.
You just unlocked a memory. I stopped listening to you. I'm thinking, when was the first time I felt this way? And I don't know if it's the first time, but I'm thinking that one of my actual first partner went on a trip at one point. I was like, are you going with, is it a friend or is it something else? I was like, no, 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 it's just a friend. He went for a week. And then I found an email of this friend and how much he loved him. And they did stuff together. And I confronted my partner and I said, hey, I saw this. And I was like, no, you're insane. That's not true. He deleted the email and he never admitted to cheating on me. And I'm like, that feels very similar.
Yeah.
So I think it's very interesting to just find that path to previous experiences. And I feel calm, like just thinking that this is not the same thing. This is not the same person. This is not the same. I'm not the same person I was at the time. So I see how that can help start integrating that part of me, which is a having compassion for the me that was in the past, who didn't know better and who was more defenseless against others. I had no experience, and I have different tools today, different strategies today to feel what I feel. So that's interesting. And of course, as you said, this is not a half of an hour thing to talk about. And I like that you said that you do sessions and you have courses because people should go find you and see you and get all your wisdom and your you are like that's a lot of information already just for this live stream. There was another thing, and when you see me going like looking at my phone, I'm literally making notes because I'm learning so much. Uh,
No worries. No
um,
worries at all.
I want, yeah, I want to go a bit more into you're allowed to feel like you were talking about anger. I think anger is an emotion that we don't validate often. I found that in my family as I was growing up, sadness was very valid. It was valid to be sad, you're fine. Anger is not. So then I was thinking that part of how I react to problems is I feel very sad and I go back to myself and I never have this moment of connecting to the other person or even validating that, hey, this is not fair. I don't want this. I want this other thing. And I just repress that and immediately get sad and I assume I'm asking for too much. I'm too demanding. So, how do you see anger and why should I allow myself to be angry?
Oh, well, um, honestly, this is something that I was actually thinking about maybe doing some more videos about this because anger is like all emotions, is extremely valid, but our societies, especially, make anger so wrong. And we learn that what is wrong is bad. And if I'm bad, I'm not accepted. I'm rejected, which is annihilation. Now, it's very understandable for someone to go, but anger is bad. It's like there's no emotion that's bad. I always call it desirable or undesirable because anger has its qualities. For example, anger allows you, or makes you become aware and know of what is not okay with you, what how you're being being treated is just not okay. Anger also will stop a behavior that's not okay with you as well. By rejecting anger, it's one of the things that is the main thing that makes people reject themselves in the degree that I'm not allowed to express me. I'm not good enough to be like, hey, this is not okay. That's not okay. I have to really push myself down and make myself small in order to be accepted by the people around me. Because anger is like, hey, that's not okay. That how I'm being treated is not okay. So when I'm learning that I can't be angry, I can't express my anger, and whenever I do, I'm being rejected and I'm being pushed away, and then feeling annihilation. What I'm essentially doing is, well, I need to reconnect with the people. I need to maintain that connection with the people around me because I'll die on my own, essentially. And this is us from children. You know, an infant on their own will die 100% of the time. We're actually watching Vikings, the show. I don't know if you've ever watched it. And
Yeah.
in that show, back in them days, what they used to do if like a child was born and it was deformed or anything, they used to just walk out into the woods, leave the child there, and then that's how they would end the child's life. Because we cannot survive on our own. So we grow up 100% reliant on others. That's how we're wired. That's why we feel love the way we do. It's a survival mechanism. It's a way of surviving. Connection for a human being is more important than food and water for survival. And we know, like you can know this by, I'm sure you've experienced like a breakup where it's been really, really hard and you've lost that connection and you've not wanted to eat or drink because you've felt that annihilation so much. So connection is the most important thing. So it's like if I don't have that love and connection from the people that I rely on for my survival, I'm dead. So that makes them the god of my reality. That makes them my everything. And if
Wow.
the the people that are my everything that I 100% rely on to survive are telling me that I can't be angry and I'm being pushed away and rejected every time I'm being angry, I have to maintain that connection. So I need to reject the angry parts of myself. So that's what I do. I reject my own needs. I reject my own desires. I reject who I am. I reject so many parts of myself. I make myself so small because that's how I survive. So when people, and we do this not just with anger, we do this with fear, we do this with, you know, any form of sadness, frustration, jealousy, feeling despair. You can't even feel despair. It's like, why are you sad? Go and do something. It's like, I'm just trying to be sad. I'm just trying to be me, but you can't You can't be sad. You've got to be happy. You've got to put on a happy face. So you're constantly learning to reject all of these parts of yourself that are literally like you. And you learn to reject so many parts of yourself. And you then are molded to becoming this version of yourself that you have learned is acceptable, and only this version of yourself. So you just completely lose yourself. And anger is one of the kind of deepest ones where you truly lose who you are. And when I work with people and when I speak to people in regards to anger, I'm a big fan of get angry, like really get angry. I do it in safe ways, and I uh, talk to friends and clients, and I do it in a safe way. I go punch my bed, I hammer fist it, and throw pillows, and I do whatever. There's been many times where I've had arguments with people, and I'm like, yeah, be angry. The only thing that I always kind of put a halt on is don't take that anger out on me. Be angry, but at some point, it's like there's a boundary that's being crossed. Don't once you're taking that anger out on me, I need to be like, listen, it's all right for you to be angry, just don't take it out on me.
Right.
But big fan of
Right.
being angry because it's so healing. It is so healing. But then you follow the same process. Remember earlier, I said how to integrate a part of yourself. Sometimes you just need to smash the place up and then do the process of integrating that part of yourself.
I I had a partner who didn't lie to me precisely, but he kept hiding information, which made me very insecure. And this one time, he did something that made me very angry, and we're on a Zoom call, and I said, you know what, I can't not be angry right now. I'm going to take a 15-minute break, and then I'll come back to you. I did that. I came back because I'm just way too angry. Like I don't even know what to say. He said, "Well, be angry at me," and I said, "I don't think you can take it." Like, because in my head, my anger is so destructive and so toxic. And he said, I think I can take it. And I said, okay, I'll do it if you think that you are able to stop me. Like, if you feel like I am being too aggressive, if you feel hurt, I need you to stop me. Can you do that? And he said, yes. And it's the only time in my life, and this was like a year ago, it's the only time in my life I let myself be angry. No, I didn't justify him. I didn't try to make things less hurtful. They were everything I felt. I wasn't violent. I wasn't aggressive towards him, but I did let my anger come up and just everything that was in my head. And at the end, he was crying, and I said, why didn't you stop me? And he said, because now I understand why this is so important to you. If you hadn't been this angry, I would not have understood why this hurts so much. And now that I've seen how it hurts you, I don't want to do it again. And I was like, wow, are you telling me that if I tell you how I feel and share my feelings, it helps us connect better? Nobody told me that. Somebody should write a book about it.
It's
uh,
uh, it's like you've like tapped into the cheat code.
it is. It is. Somebody wrote the comment, and please comment, write your questions. I'm having an eye on the comments. That you don't even recognize yourself after that. Now, I feel like it was a tiny glimpse of how I could feel if I let myself feel my anger. And I haven't done it since. Like I still have had moments where I feel a little angry, it'll come up a little bit. But then you were talking about safe ways to express my anger. One is like punching the bed. In my case, it was this: I will tell you because I trust that you can stop me, always with consent, always aware that I have boundaries, no physical violence, no emotional, psychological violence. What other safe ways do you know or would you recommend that I can express my anger or feel my anger?
So obviously it depends on the individual, but a punch bag, that's really good.
Mhm.
Honestly, I've met some people that just say the bed's not enough. They need to break something, and I'm like, go break
Mhm.
something, go find something that you're okay with breaking and break it, but really get into it. Um, uh, Shaking the body as well. So sometimes your anger that's coming out, you don't need to like break anything or anything. It's just your body needs to shake it out. And this is why a lot of people do shaking, and shaking is really beneficial and helpful. I have a lot of my clients literally stand up. We all do Zoom calls, and literally stand up and they're shaking and just like, ah. And I'm like, fuck it, yeah, go for it. Like, yeah, absolutely. And they scream and they scream and they go in the next room and scream and come back. And it's like, it's that's safe. And it really depends on what we mean by safe, because this is like, again, it's pretty insane that we're even saying do it in a safe way. What does that mean?
Right.
The only reason we're saying do it in a safe way is because anger sometimes can create harm to others. That's it. It's or harm to yourself. So there does need to be a level of awareness, because anger does have that power to be harmful in some ways. But you also need to be very, very open to going into it. And this is the difference. When you have an intention of going towards an emotion, it's completely different than when you're in resistance to it. A lot of wounded people, especially the wounded masculine, whether that's the wounded masculine in men or women, but a lot of the wounded masculine is in resistance of the anger. So a lot of people are like, oh no, I feel my emotions. Like, no, you just because you feel the emotions doesn't mean you're going into it. It doesn't mean that you're choosing to go into it in order to feel it and release it. When you do that, it's a completely different vibration to that emotion. So if I'm feeling anger come up, when I'm in resistance to it, it can take over and I can lose control. But when I'm consciously going towards it, it's not going to take over and I won't be losing control because I'm consciously going towards it. It does change that
Right.
vibration.
Right. I had a partner at one point, a relationship was not doing well at all. He suggested going to a rage room to break everything. I was like, okay, let's do it. I'd never done that before. So we're locked in this room with this very angry music, and I have a baseball bat in my head, and I'm breaking bottles and stuff, and I'm just letting myself go. And my partner goes, are you okay? Can I give you a hug? I said, do not come near me right now. I have a baseball bat and I'm really pissed at you. So I was like, I want to keep you safe. Don't just do it. Somebody is asking, you mentioned accessing the unconscious to figure out when you first felt a certain emotion. Can
Yeah.
you elaborate more on how to do that, please? What if you can't access when or what happened exactly?
Yeah, sure. This is what I said. Like, whenever I talk about the process of healing, it always just raises more questions, which is not wrong, but it's just it's so hard to kind of go through and explain it, especially in comments when people are like, "How do you heal?" And I'm like, I can't write a reply of how to heal.
You book a session with Arian.
well, well, once my I'm actually in the middle of writing my book. Once my book's out, then I'll be like, "Take this, go and read it."
Very excited.
Um, so now, look, everyone's not in the same boat. For some people, feeling emotions are going to be so much easier than others, depending on the experiences you've had, what you've been through, how strict your parents were, how traumatizing the experiences you've had in your life have been. For some people, it's so hard for them to feel that they're not even aware that that emotion is there. Anger, we keep talking about, suppressed anger is comes out in so many different forms. Someone can be like I have a lot of anger, but someone, mainly the people that are saying, I'm not angry, I'm okay, I'm fine, they're the ones that really have a lot of suppressed anger. Um, so it's not always a case of, all right, I'm just going to sit with it. Sometimes it's going to be challenging. So you have to train yourself and teach yourself how to feel again, because you've gone through your entire life narrowing down the way that you should be by society, by our social circle, which is our family, of I need to not be angry, I need to not be this, I need to not be that, not be jealous, not have fear, and I need to be fearless and do all this stuff that doesn't exist. You hyper focus on that so much that you forget how to feel. So there are ways and things to do that will help you. Intentionally triggering yourself is going to help you. So whatever that is, maybe that's going through social media and watching videos of things that you know that you don't like in order to trigger yourself for the purpose of exploring how you're feeling. So that could be, I don't know, a lot of people get very triggered in political views and everything. So maybe going to the opposing side, watching some of their videos, and just for the purpose of exploring what you're feeling and how you're feeling. And a lot of the times it'll be at that stage it's anxiety. Anxiety is not an emotion. Anxiety is a mask of a suppressed emotion. Anxiety is a physical sensation. I always say the best way to kind of describe anxiety on an emotional level is realizing that you've rejected this part of yourself and how it's feeling so long, you don't even know what the emotion is anymore. And it comes through as anxiety. But essentially, your goal is to sit with it. So if you're able to trigger yourself, sit with whatever you're triggering yourself with. If you want to trigger yourself in other ways, you can go and get stuck in traffic, trigger yourself like that. However you end up triggering yourself. Other techniques you can use as well is a warm body of water, so a bath, a warm bath. And in that warm bath as well, your feet are quite sensitive, so like massaging your feet. What you're trying to do is you're trying to get the body okay with feeling again. You're kind of massaging your body into this kind of, it's okay to feel, let's go towards feeling again. So there are a few more things as well. Like there's loads that we could go through, but again, these answers need to be quicker than they can be. If the main thing to really become aware of is if you're not feeling the thing that's coming up, it's because you're in your head. You cannot feel in your mind. And that's when you stop learning how to feel, it's because you're always in your mind. You're using logic way too much. So what I always say to people as well is, in those moments, sit down, close your eyes and put yourself back into your body. Bring yourself into your body. We're always outside of our bodies as well, which is why we struggle to feel. Our automatic kind of ways that we protect ourselves is by using logic. If I use logic, I don't feel the pain. So like it could be an awareness that like, oh, my mom did this to me, which means she doesn't love me. But then another part of me will use logic to keep me away from the pain that my mom doesn't love me. And that could be, well, of course she loved me because she clothed me, she fed me, I'm still alive, aren't I? And we use logic to take ourselves away from feeling what we're trying to feel. So always allow yourself to think the painful thoughts in order to explore and feel these parts of yourself. So there are a number of things, and I've added a few things that's quite broad, but again, for the individual, it would be very unique to them.
Everybody's loving that phrase that anxiety is not an emotion, it's a suppressed feeling or something that, yes. We're coming up on the last few minutes of our live stream, but I do have one last thing that I think everybody wants to know. Um, Forgiveness. 'Cause I've been working on forgiveness for a lot of things. And then there's one person in my life that we had a huge issue a few years ago, and we've worked through it. We've repaired. I've talked about how I feel. I've validated, but forgiveness is still something that requires a lot of work. So, what is your take on forgiveness?
So forgiveness is, from my understanding of speaking to many, many people and the way that we're brought up, forgiveness is not understood by pretty much everyone. And I didn't understand it until I did understand it. And when you understand it, it's like this light bulb moment, and everything just becomes so much clearer and less painful in your life. Forgiveness is not a choice. It's not something you can do by
Mm.
just wanting to do it. It's not something you can do by just choosing to do it. No human being on the planet can forgive for wanting to. First of all, we need to understand what forgiveness actually is. A lot of people will think forgiveness is being okay with what happened, or allow it, or not being annoyed at your abuser or whoever did something. I forgive them, and that's because on our childhood we would play with other children, or have some sort of confrontation with adults, whether it's like playing with children in school, playing with our siblings, our cousins, or whatever. Something would happen, some sort of anger, some sort of jealousy, something. We've had many experiences in our lives where we were told, you need to be nice to each other and play with each other. So again, your needs are completely gone. And you go, yeah, but he did this. It doesn't matter. Just make up with each other and play with each other. So now you're learning, like, oh, okay, what's bothering me doesn't matter. It's not important. So I need to just forgive this person and just go back to normal. That's what everyone believes forgiveness is, mainly. Now, how horrible does that sound? Could you imagine saying that to someone who's been sexually abused? Could you imagine if someone's been sexually abused, telling that person that they need to forgive their abuser? How insane does that sound? Now, forgiveness, or what we call forgiveness, isn't our understanding of forgiveness isn't what forgiveness actually is. I'm going to explain it to you in this way. First of all, what forgiveness actually is, I never feel comfortable with calling it forgiveness because it doesn't it doesn't kind of go to the broader aspect of what's actually happening and all the possibilities. But we'll work with it. So when you have an experience and you're in the past that you're becoming aware that, oh, in the past I had an experience where I experienced emotional distress without resolution for that distress. In that moment, it was because I had needs that I needed meeting that were unmet, a need of safety. That is the emotional distress that was unresolved. That's what trauma is. So that will have parts of myself that, I will use anger to keep me away from the pain of fear. Fear is under anger 100% of the time. And that will manifest in my life as like partners that will when I have unmet needs, I use whatever I can to stay out of the pain of that unmet need. One of the main things that we use is kind of like anger. That's how we get higher in vibrationally in the emotional scale, because the lower emotions that we feel, it feels like more painful and worse. And resentment is kind of, I always call like the cousin of anger. It's around there. So I will use resentment as a way to stay away from my pain. And when I project that resentment, it keeps me away from my pain. So I could be like, oh, that friend treated me in a certain way. Fuck that friend. And I can't believe that he or she was like that to me. They treated me so terribly. That's all my way of staying away from the pain of this unmet need. Now, if I learn how to meet that unmet need in a healthier way, because the way I'm meeting it now is an unhealthy way because it's resentment. I'm using resentment to try and meet that unmet need. It's unhealthy. So if I learn how to meet it in a healthier way, if I do the integration that we were talking about, the healing of bringing these parts of myself in and validating, feeling, validating, and meeting the needs, the more I meet the need of in a healthier way, I let go of the unhealthy way that I've been meeting the need. Well, what is that? That's resentment. So I'm letting go of the resentment. Now, if I let go of the resentment, I'm no longer resenting that person. What's another way of saying that? I forgive that person.
Mm.
So we get to forgiveness by letting go. We let go by meeting our unmet needs in a healthier way. This is why you can never choose to forgive, because you have to do the work. You have to meet the unmet needs that you have in order to let go of the unhealthy way that you've been meeting the unmet needs. And the outcome of letting go is that you forgive.
Okay. So letting go would, you're saying that letting go means meeting the need that was unmet at the time. So I'm thinking like if I had a conflict where this person criticized me for, and I felt shame, then maybe the need would be to feel validated or recognized or accepted. So in order for me to let go of that, I would need to find a way to feel accepted, maybe that by that person or just in general or by myself.
What, so do you feel the shame or do they feel the shame?
I feel ashamed because they said something that made me feel like, oh, you look too skinny. And I'm like, I thought I could trust you with something. I don't know.
Yeah, so obviously that would be the exploration, but it's all within yourself. So
Hmm.
that comment would trigger that shame in you. So
Yeah.
by going towards that shame and understanding it, you may realize that it's from being ridiculed when you were younger by people making fun of you for the way that you looked, the way that your hair looks, and for being too short for your age, or being too skinny, or too fat, or wearing certain types
Mm.
of clothes or something. You're being shamed and being made fun of. Now, those parts of you is what has the unmet need that's being triggered in that moment.
Yeah.
When you are meeting the needs and doing the work and understanding these parts of yourself and validating them, you eventually get to a place where the exact same scenario won't make you feel the way it does, because that same person could go, make fun of you saying, "Oh, you look skinny," and you'd be like, "Oh," because it's not
Right.
triggering the wound anymore because we're healing, we're integrating.
Right. Right.
So then you wouldn't essentially have that um, like frustration towards that person. You might even go down a different path and go, I've I'm so evolved now that I understand he's just projecting. So I actually feel bad for him because I understand that that's how he treats himself. Because we only treat others the way we treat ourselves. So if someone's making fun of me, it's because there's so many parts of them that make fun of themselves. So not only will it not trigger me, um, but I also have empathy. And having empathy doesn't mean I allow the behavior to continue if I'm not okay with it. Having empathy doesn't mean that I'm even okay with it. It just means that it's not going to take me to a place of resentment, and my inner world is not going to, be in a state of anger or frustration or shame or anxiety because of someone else's comment.
That phrase, we only treat ourselves the way we treat others. No, they only treat others the way we treat ourselves. That that's gonna be my homework to reflect on. I'm gonna print it and put it on my bathroom mirror just to go over it. Somebody says, "Yeah, you have to work on it." Oh my God, I'm already following him and expecting his book. Same. I could talk to you for hours and hours and hours. It's You're so wise and your voice is so calming and it's just like, oh, you blow my mind. Thank you so much for being here. But before we go, where can people find you? How do they get a session with you or your courses? Tell everybody what they need to know to get closer to you.
Well, thank you so much for those kind words. Really, you could just search my name in Google and you'll find everything. Ariane Samui. I have my website has all my links, arianesamui.com. I'm actually there's actually some new things coming up right at the moment. There's a community portal that I'm growing and making. It's going to be there are things happening which I'm going to start talking about in the next couple of weeks on social media. So everything's on my website. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Yes, I had a lot of fun. I'm gonna post this live stream this week at one point, but I am going to cut a few bits of it to subtitle them so everybody can enjoy them. Thank you so
Yeah.
much for this, and hopefully we'll get to do this again sometime.
Thank you. Absolutely. I'd love to.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. And thanks for everyone watching.
All right. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.